If you want the lemon stuff, it's towards the end, and skip if you like, but have a look at this interior and tell me, where else could you put the handbrake lever? It's not the drop-down type that can tuck away when on, like say in a Ferrari, and it gets kicked, and the mount snaps, and the lever goes all floppy. There's no pill for that. The only way to fix it is getting in behind the outer sill where the lever mount is bolted. It's a scary one because it's invasive, but we're going in. Some time ago, somebody tried to fix, or at least make the wobbly lever better, by building up fiberglass around the spindle and then clamping the whole thing up with a hose clip. To be fair, it probably did help. The mount is a steel bracket on the other side of the inner sill, and it's held in by 3 Phillips head machine screws that wouldn't come out. On the other side, naive me thought that the outer sill was just riveted on. How wrong I was. Okay, pay attention to Spree fans, there are so many more rivets than at first it seems. There are 2 hidden beneath the steel door hinge support inside the cabin at the front. I got the heads off those with a multi-tool, but it's not much use because ideally you still need to be able to hammer and drift the shank of the rivet out of each hole, such as the grip the rivets have. There's one buried under the fiberglass reinforcement at the cabin engine bay bulkhead that I didn't get a shot of. You have to drill through the fiberglass there, and there's a whole chain of them in the engine bay area beneath where the fuel tank would sit. I've actually missed one in this shot, just visible beneath the dirt. There's also one inside what on a conventional body would be the front wing. After that, it's a case of coaxing the resin that was used to bond the sill to the bodywork to let go, and it's not easy. What you're really doing here is ripping it off conscientiously. I say resin, for the most part it is just resin, but there's some sort of actual bonding agent used at the front and rear ends of the sill. It's clearly different, being a dark grey, almost black colour. There it is. And obviously the machine screws weren't letting go because the nuts aren't captive. I'm baffled by that. The bracket had to be welded in places anyway, so why wouldn't you just tack the nuts on while at it? Straight away, my instinct is to remake this in stainless steel and then reinforce it. But time isn't on my side, so I'm gonna put it back together and see what options for strengthening it there are. After pressing the sheared mount back into the bracket, I realised that because of the shape of the inner sill, the mount is welded to the bracket at an angle to let the handbrake lever sit upright. That wouldn't be a huge deal if I was to make up a new bracket, but it would add complexity to it and time to the build. So I welded it in place. Yes, roughly. And made up a template for a secondary welded in plate to the back of the mount and bracket. It's a template because I'm really conscientious that way. No, it's because I don't have a suitable piece of 2 or 3 millimeter steel plate handy, so I couldn't make the real deal just now. Turning my head to the modified sill, there's a great example of the difference prep makes to the strength of a fiberglass repair. I doubt any of this area was prepped first, but when it came off, it did take a small section of the original material with it, where it had obviously gotten good grip and wasn't going to let go without a fight. And that brings us to something you might have thought to say last episode when I did the first resin repair on the car. Why don't I use epoxy? I could, and the fact is, epoxy resin is superior to polyester where bonding is concerned, but this shell is polyester, and to repair it like for like is to match its fundamental properties of flexibility, elasticity and strength. A well-prepared repair on a surface like this isn't going to delaminate, and the Pro Composites guy in the balaclava standing behind me said if I didn't read that script, he'd delaminate my pinkies. I'll ream those out, figure out what to do about the bracket and put it all back together next time. This is all the crap you might have noticed falling from the small areas in the sills that had gaps in them, by the way. Now though, let me show you the moment I found out my car's a bit of a lemon. Not that we didn't know that already. Okay, I knew it had been crashed and that there was still a remnant crack in the underbody from that accident. Plus, you know, I was lucky enough to track down the car's third owner, Ian, and he said this.
Driver's side front, it had a corner in it, yeah. It was me, ran into a car with it.
Well, brace yourself, because this gets graphic. Jolly music, right? because we're staying positive. We're staying positive, right? We're staying positive. Honestly, about 2 days of work involved staring at this in between rounds of effort, trying to figure out what to do. I got Gar and Sai up for their opinions and had a video conference about it with Billy the composites guy, and I knew if I was going to make a decision on whether to cut the corner off again and reset it as close to perfect as I could, I'd need to peel back most of the repair to see how it sits under the surface. So let's do that. I could cut the corner back out in the hope of putting it back in better shape, but the repair has stood the test of at least 10 years on the road. Another bump right where you wouldn't want it and hard enough to put spider cracks in the nose, and all in is about 40 years old. Rough as it is underneath, it's not a bad repair. The reasons against going all out? Well, for starters, the high possibility that to get it sitting better in some areas will only leave it sitting worse in others. And then there's shrinkage. New resin and filler and primer and paint were all laid into the bodywork to mend it, and all of those things contract and shrink over time. And they did shrink, which I'll show you next time. So it's done all the moving it's going to do and has stabilised, and flatting any ripples or undulations in the paint as it is now should mean they don't come back. But if I do go adding new material, especially topside where it would be visible, I'll be setting myself up for paint finish problems in years to come. All of the real structure to this repair was done topside and inside the car, so if I put the time in on the underside to complement the strength already added to the topside, it'll be a decent job altogether. And in a weird way, looking down the barrel of that work is kind of exciting. So, a couple of unfinished jobs in this episode, but big steps towards bringing the body back. That's how it goes sometimes. No definitive news on replacement seats or door cards, but it'll all come good with a little faith. And speaking of faith, thanks to new supporters, Teeman Meester, Bat, Hugh Davies, Sa Young, Marco Koda, Thomas Werner Reesey, Neil Bennett, and to Bill Keating, Brendan Gunn and Daniel Kedney for renewing their vows. I'll see you next time with a major piece of work on the front end of this car, and hopefully a bit more. Until then, keep rolling with the unfinished jobs, stay stuck in, and good luck.
I was sick, and the mind wasn't on it, and I just touched the car. It was just it cracked all the front corner, but I just got a new corner put on. I was well sick, so I didn't really take any pictures of it. It sickened me that I'd crashed the car, you know. Oh, yeah, okay. I was devastated.